Hi Simon.
Well, Lou, you ready to go?
Ready to go.
So we're about to interview Maddie, so always the thing I forget is making sure I've done everything with the tape recorder, so I'm going to do that first. Okay, so today on my two backups with this one and the phone, we're going to interview Maddie S. And the date today is 17th of the 12th, 10:15 hours. And all of that's working, so you okay for questions and that kind of stuff?
Good.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
And previously we split out what questions we were
So if I
going to do.
If I go first, you go second, third.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll do the introduction. Done.
Right, ready
Okay.
to go.
Yeah. Hi Maddie.
Hi Simon.
Great to see you.
Hey,
Thanks for coming, Maddie.
Thank you very much for coming.
It's okay.
Really good to see you. How have you been?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah. How's uni studies going?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Slow, but good.
And
Yeah.
what course were you doing?
I'm doing speech pathology and applied science double degree. Yeah,
What year are you in?
first year. Just finished first year. Yeah.
Good. You do all right in the first year?
Finished. Yeah. Passed. So we were good. Yeah.
You do any practice?
No, we don't get to do any till like third year.
Third year?
Yeah.
Out of how
third,
many
fourth
years?
year. 4.
Is it 4 years?
Yeah.
Is it?
Double degree.
Double degree? Okay.
Yeah. So don't hit the masters till like third year, I don't think.
Oh, it's a master's?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be good. Thank you for coming today.
It's okay.
So today we're going to chat about asthma.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll look at my notes if you don't mind, just so I remember what I'm doing next.
No worries.
So today the objective is to explore your asthma symptoms, and we're going to interview about 30 people in total. And in the end we'll produce some nice online software to help asthma sufferers in the future. So that's kind of the objective of the project.
Sure.
When we start chatting, we're interested in your personal experiences. There's no right or wrong answer, so whatever comes to mind is fine.
Sure.
But we'll probably limit it to about 40-45 minutes of interview.
No worries.
I'm just checking that you've signed the consent form and stuff, which you have. That's great. And we've previously discussed whether you meet the inclusion criteria, so I think you and I, we're all happy about that, aren't we? Do you have any questions before we start? Good.
All good.
So I'm going to hand over to Louise.
So I get to ask the first question, Maddie. So can you tell us about your asthma starting from your earliest memories that you can recall?
I think they sort of thought that I had it in grade 2, so I was, I think, about 8 years old, and we're living up at the snow, so it was very cold. So that probably exaggerated the symptoms. And from then I just had Ventolin, preventers. Mum's pretty wary, so she gets the ambulance when she thinks it's pretty bad, but it's never been like dire, really. Just cold and a bit of exercise induced. Yeah, I think so.
It's interesting. You said, so do you remember Mum getting in the ambulance when you were really young?
Yeah, I think so, like grade 3, grade 4. So it was about 10, I think. She used to freak out about it. It wasn't that bad, I don't think. But yeah, she's pretty onto it.
Do you remember that incident when you were 10?
Not really, I just
Oh,
remember
really?
having to, she was like, oh no, like this is bad. And I never had full-on asthma attacks like
Okay.
my sister did. So I just sort of assumed I was never that severe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do you kind of remember about those early asthma attacks?
Well, I just know Mira, when she had them, was always exercise induced.
Was it? Yeah.
She would just panic and freak out. But
That's your sister?
yeah, I never
Yeah.
really experienced it that much. I could just felt it getting a bit puffed, but
Okay.
nothing
What brought it on?
bad. When it was so cold, like in the winter, like netball's a winter sport, so exercise and in the winter didn't really help. And if I had a cold on top of that, every time I had a cold, I'd always end up with a cough, bit of a wheeze. Yeah, I think so.
And any sort of worse symptoms than that, or were they the kind of main symptoms? And how are they now? Has it got worse or is it got better?
It sort of got better at the start of high school, but maybe this year it's been a bit, last 2 years I've noticed it a little bit more. Maybe I've paid more attention to it because I've learned more about it at school, but yeah, it sort of settled down for a while. But then maybe I was a bit careless and getting sick and immune system's a bit down, so yeah, I've had to change medications and things like that.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what kind of happened when you got worse this last year?
Well, just because I've been living on like college at uni.
Yeah.
So just typically my immune system's pretty run down.
Okay.
So getting colds fairly often. That just sort of meant if I had a cold, I'd get a cough. With the cough, progressively get worse asthma. So I'm noticing even in year 12 being run down, I'd just be sitting in class and on like 2-3 occasions I'd just feel like all of a sudden, because it was winter or I was just run down, just feel my throat get a bit, my airways get a bit tighter.
Yeah.
And usually like I'd be doing something to induce it.
Okay.
Running or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So in the last year, how many times would you think you had some serious asthma where you needed to seek help or?
Maybe 3 or 4. Yeah. So coming home from schoolies, that was pretty bad. I was pretty sick, just colds and tonsillitis and things. But yeah, so I had to go to the hospital for that, just because I was quite struggling to breathe. And then I was using, during like the start of the year, I was using my Ventolin a lot more than I should have been. So I had to go and change preventers and get pretty vigilant with that. And then, yeah, I've had to sort of stop and start it just because I'm lazy. And yeah, I've had to sort of start that up again. Maybe a month or 2 ago I got pretty sick, and because I'm going away soon, I've already started my preventer so I don't get sick when I'm overseas in the winter. Yeah.
When you're off on your European tour.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah.
So with your puffers, did you have to, how, if you were kind of normal, let's say,
yeah.
How often would you puff? And then when you get worse, how often do you have to
puff?
increase, roughly?
Well, if I'm fine, like pretty normal, I'd only have it sort of half-time, quarter breaks at netball.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd have it before like I went for a run or something like that, just because to prevent, I just feel like I perform better if I have my puffer. And then when I'm pretty bad, I know because I don't keep my preventer going the whole year, which I probably should, I'll start it and then it has to be like 2 puffs in the morning, 2 puffs at night.
Okay.
And then they say when you're better, just do 1 puff a day or just decrease it. But yeah, when I'm bad, like my Ventolin, I'll be doing it like, if I'm sick, like 3 or 4 times a day. Mum says do it like every couple of hours, have 2.
Okay.
But like the plan is for me to, I'm not allowed to do, for an hour, I'm allowed to have 6 puffs every 20 minutes. And if I'm still not good after that hour, then I have to go to the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maddie, what are your main concerns about your condition with asthma? What worries you the most?
That when I get sick, I wouldn't have had enough preventer sort of behind me to keep it under control. I've never been worried like that I won't be able to breathe as such, because I know that it's pretty common and everyone will...
Even when you're really bad?
Yeah. Or even when I'm bad, like when I'm bad I sort of a little bit freak out if it's all of a sudden, but don't know, I've sort of trained myself to just calm down and chill, just tell someone, and then they can just help me monitor myself. Yeah, I'm not too concerned, but that'd be my main concern, just getting a cold and then all of a sudden just exploding.
So you said you're going overseas
Yes.
to a cold climate.
Yes.
What worries you about that, getting it over there?
Because it's a foreign country, and obviously there's no Medicare, like I have travel insurance, but I'd rather not have to complicate the trip and miss days out while I'm over somewhere like I'll never be again. So I just wanted to start my preventer already, so that I'd be pretty worried, like I just wouldn't enjoy the experience as much if I was just constantly like on my puffer, and yeah, Mum would be calling me every second. And, yeah, yeah, that's my main concern.
It's probably back to me, isn't it?
Mhm.
No, back to me, I think. I forgot to ask you a question earlier on, so I'll ask you
I think
this
we
one.
kind of covered it, I think.
Do you reckon? I was going to ask you, what do you do to avoid triggering your asthma, do you think?
I'm supposed to have my preventer,
Yeah.
or
Anything else?
before like a netball game, I'll
Yeah.
have a couple like in the warm up,
Yeah.
a couple of puffs of Ventolin, and that'll stop me getting like really grasping fear, hopefully,
Okay.
unless I'm just unfit. Yeah.
Do you avoid exercise in any way if you're really worried about it?
I do if I have a cold,
Yeah.
and if it's really cold outside, I might run in a jumper or
Okay.
just not go at all, because it's
Okay.
just not worth it. 'Cause it's always worse at night, and that's when I tend to exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else. There's no food, or do you have any eczema and things like that? Do you
I just have
avoid any of
sensitive
those
skin,
things?
but
Is that okay?
it doesn't
Yeah.
induce asthma at all.
Okay.
Really?
Okay. That's good.
No. Just lack of sleep, maybe.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Get one down. Yeah.
I'll get back on track because I've got another question to ask you as well. Which must be down to me, which is, do you have a written asthma plan?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Efficient. And so kind of, where did you get the kind of plan idea from? What stuff have you got on it?
Just one of the doctors Mum went to. That was like the one I told you before about for the hour.
Yeah.
Every 20 minutes, I'm only allowed 6 puffs.
Yeah.
And if it gets past that, then it's pretty bad.
Okay.
And I better go do something about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. Mum sort of tells me. I think that's what she must have given the school.
Yeah.
But now, like at uni, that's just what I sort of stick to.
Okay.
Those principles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's the plan being shared with it? Has your GP got it and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then school had it all through school. Mum has it. It's just sort of, yeah. I mean, if I can't breathe, then I'm dying. Surely someone will call the ambulance, like, because then I'm the only one who knows the plan. Yeah.
You hope so.
Yeah.
So down at uni now, because you're living on res, does anyone down there know your plan?
Yeah, a couple of the girls do. One night I was pretty bad, but after the hour, after I'd had like my third lots of puffer, I ended up being fine. But they knew that I was gonna like knock on the door if I wanted to go to the hospital or something. But yeah, that was fine. Yeah, they do know what to do. Yeah.
Good.
Your question, but I think a lot of those have already been asked.
Yeah.
So we were going to ask you really about the actions you normally take when you have an asthma attack, but we kind of covered that in many ways, haven't we?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you felt you ought to add for that one?
I'm actually just a spacer instead of just a puffer.
Okay.
Just to increase the amount of Ventolin I'm getting.
Okay.
Do you carry a spacer with you, Maddie?
Should,
A bit
but-
big to go in your handbag.
Yeah.
Probably.
I have one at like uni.
Yeah.
Um,
And one at home?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool at home, but I don't go out with it, or if I go to sport, I would only use it if I'm like actually sick and I'm struggling or feel myself pretty wheezy, especially if I wake up at night and I'm pretty bad, like coughing or something, because I'm struggling to breathe. I'll have it then, but yeah.
Are you good at taking your Ventolin with you wherever you go?
I am now, because last year I wasn't really that good. Just because it's sort of peace of mind for everyone else. Like, they get angry at me if I don't know.
Peace of mind for everybody else.
Yeah. Like, I'll deal with it. But
So have you been called out?
Yeah, I've borrowed a few people's now and then, just if I forget it or at netball and I don't have it. Or likewise, like, I'll share it with people because,
Yeah.
like, what's the worst that could happen, really? Like,
Yeah.
it's always going to help them out a bit more. Yeah.
So with it, kind of those things in mind, we kind of already addressed it to a degree, but can you think back to an incident where you had to call for help, and perhaps we'll define calling for help as calling friends or calling neighbours or calling for an ambulance, however you want to define it really, but what's kind of triggered your call for help there? What's really pushed you and made you panic and think, oh Christ, I need to do something?
Yeah. Well, this year I remember I was like, woke up in the middle of the night and I was just coughing, and I'd been pretty sick that day, and I had been to the doctors and things, but it was just sort of increase your preventer, increase your puffer.
Yeah.
I woke up and I was just couldn't stop coughing, so I sat up and had like 4 or 6 puffs, so like kind of for the hour, but I just sort of fell asleep and then I'd wake up again and it just wasn't getting any better. So I called Mum and she was like trying to get me to like get my auntie and things like that to come get me.
Okay.
Because they live in Melbourne, but I don't know, I just kind of was like, oh, it's probably going to go away. Like,
Okay.
I just sort of overreact in the minute when I'm like, oh, I don't know, like.
When you're panicking.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're breathless. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So that was a really good example of how you called friends and friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but was there an incident where you've ever had to call an ambulance or anything like that?
not for myself, but
Yeah.
just Mum's done it. Like when I came home from schoolies, I was pretty sick that night. I just kept waking up and coughing, and
Okay.
she was pretty worried just because I wasn't getting any better. So she called the ambulance, but I was like, she didn't actually tell me she was calling it. I just kind of rocked up and I was like, oh hi. But I've never called the ambulance.
Must be back to you, Laura.
So, Maddie, for more information about managing your asthma, what do you think is the best way for showing you some online information? What do you think about videos or case studies?
Yeah. From managing it, maybe need some motivation too.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, Mum just tells me stories I don't believe, like people.
Okay. But just for you, for you to be able to access, what do you think might work best for you? Videos, case studies, reading some fact sheets, reading someone's blog or asthma sufferers' blogs, watching YouTube videos, watching an interactive case study where there may be somebody about your own age talking about their experience of asthma.
Maybe videos.
Videos?
Yeah, blogs, I guess. Yeah, like other people's experiences.
Like a Facebook blog or?
Yeah, maybe. I think videos would be pretty good. Just a bit easier. It's quick.
What do you think we should put in videos? Because we could do interactive videos
Yeah.
where you click on various things and various things happen, or do you think the video should be kind of stories like yours, or?
Maybe stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'd. Just wouldn't care that much to interact with
You
it.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
that
No.
interactive, yeah.
No.
So experiences and then lessons learnt from them, or maybe how they would have managed it differently, that
Yeah.
sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or
Probably. Just so you don't get in the same boat, maybe. Yeah. Maybe like their worst experience, so it kind of freaks you out to be like, yep, got to get onto that. Yeah, how they would have done it better, so that you can learn from it, or just telling other people what works for them, and yeah.
strategies,
Yeah.
tips? Okay, so if you had a choice, how would you access these videos? What would you most likely to use? What kind of devices would you most likely use?
My phone.
Your phone?
Probably. Yeah, or my laptop.
Laptop? Do you use tablets?
Not that often.
Not
no.
that often.
Maybe the iPad every now and then if I'm at home. Otherwise just my Mac or...
So do you think these videos should be on an app, a special asthma app or asthma education app?
Yeah, maybe.
How do you think would be easy or best access that you would actually access it rather than
maybe not an app.
yeah, having to go looking
You
for it
have to
or
download it.
Yeah, go out of my way to...
Yeah.
If it was just on Facebook and I was bored, I'd probably read it. Or watch it. If it just
YouTube?
happened to pop up. That doesn't matter.
No.
I don't really
So
just sit there.
links
watching
through
YouTube.
Facebook, basically.
Yeah,
So,
maybe. Yeah. I know we'll spend a lot of time on Facebook just watching stupid things, so
Yeah.
if it's a video, probably more likely. But yeah, maybe not an app, because I wouldn't be as inclined to go out of my way to
Yeah.
try and work out how it works and things.
And how do you think we could let you know that this was available as an asthma sufferer? What would be the best way for us to let you know that it was there, ready to access?
Maybe if your doctor told you, maybe, but a lot of people probably wouldn't. I don't. Okay, maybe I would, but it seem a bit stupid, like a bit weird if I liked it on Facebook or something. If it just popped up,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds to me like. I might be inclined to like it, and then a few things might come up in my feed.
Because it's kind of like, how can we get the information out there that you're likely to likely to be accessible to you too?
Yeah.
Because if it's on, we can't just put it out on everyone's Facebook type thing.
You probably have to do doctor then. Maybe on the Ventolin packets. I don't know. Just trying to think what everyone else would have in common. Yeah, like over the counter, like at the pharmacy when you're buying your Ventolin, maybe they could give you something, a little pamphlet. Yeah, I'm not sure how else.
Do you remember if there was a main website that you or your mum ever went on? Where it could be linked from?
Not
There's
really.
no particular one.
No.
General information you were searching for, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we probably need to think a bit more about how we're going to get it out there as well.
To make it accessible.
Yeah. But the phone's a really key point because screen size and stuff would be relatively small. So whatever we design, it's got to work on a phone. Is basically what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which would apply to lots of people of your age, really.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really useful information. So from our point of view, that's great. Thank you. Anything else you want to add? Sure.
Good. Yep.
Have you got
Nothing
any?
else that pops up you want to tell us all about?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm that bad. My asthma's that bad, but has had some bad episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably the majority of people. They have asthma and they'll have some episodes where it's become a little bit scary, and then how they manage that and how they seek management of that. And then once they're stable again, or once they know their triggers, they can become quite stable and just have the odd episode. And I think most asthmatics will probably be in that category. So you've given us some really great information.
Yeah, it's good. It's really interesting.
That we can work with and go on from here. So thank you very much for coming today.
No worries.
Have you got a top tip for asthma sufferers? Let's say I've got asthma, which is probably unlikely at my age, but anyway, if I suddenly got asthma as a 16, 17-year-old or a younger person.
It's okay to be a little bit of a sook sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just tend to hide it, but I don't know. People will help you. If you don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Kind of what's your best tip for survival? So it's okay to just crash out, and if you've got a problem with it, is there anything else that you'd kind of suggest people did?
I don't know, get a preventer.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
medication.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good.
I don't know, stay fit, because that'll probably make you think you have
that's a good
asthma,
point.
but
Yeah, really good
you're
point.
just not fit. Get puffed.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Melanie.
Great.
All done. And end of interview, I'll remember to turn the tape recorders off.
Well, that was quite interesting, Simon. There was a lot of things that sort of we could draw on there from Maddie's experience as a young asthma sufferer. So do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about the process of the interview?
It's just quite nice to think about immediately afterwards, because it kind of often things pop up as a theme in your head, which is why I was jotting a few notes down while we were doing the interview. She's actually very switched on as an asthma sufferer, which will be interesting for this cohort because we're kind of always interviewing university level students, so you kind of expect them to be fairly switched on. She had a really good action plan.
She did have a good action plan.
I thought it was quite interesting how she had kind of one key carer, which was mum.
Yeah.
And even phoning her from university, you know, and aunt being sent round and things like that. But I think you said earlier about she obviously doesn't want to fuss, you know, chill it.
And I think even sometimes to the point where it could be to her own detriment, that she doesn't necessarily want to alarm and call for help too much, because it's going to create a fuss or a tension that she doesn't necessarily want, which Maddie's age group, you can sort of understand that might be a concern. So, however, she did stick to her asthma plan. If it didn't work, then she knew to seek help. And it was great that she, her boyfriend knew about her plan, and some of her other friends from uni knew about her plan, or knew when she wasn't well. But you're right, it was the main carer that accessed the information, observed her, assessed her, made her seek health attention and calling the ambulance.
But it's also interesting that point you were saying about not wanting to make a fuss. So even with an asthma plan, would you actually delay calling for help because you just don't want to make a fuss, even if you were really ill? Maybe you wouldn't, because not being able to breathe is terrifying, isn't it? So that's an interesting. We could perhaps pursue that in other interviews a bit more, if you know what really pushes them about calling for help, which is one of the main objectives of this study, isn't it? The cascade out of information will be perhaps a bit of a challenge, because it's not where you put the information so much, because we talked about Facebook and on phones, so it's got to be small enough for everybody to see and things. But how do you actually get that information out there? How do people pick it up? Yeah, well, how do you disseminate it? Where are we going to put the links? And that needs a bit more thought, really.
And that's probably the key. Health professionals will know where to search for that, and they'll look for that.
Yeah.
But our actual asthma sufferers, it has to be accessible in a logical place that they could find it. I'm sure Maddie's mum, if she's obviously been on the Asthma Foundation website and things like that, would she come across it? But would an 18 to 24-year-old go searching for that? So we have to make it available.
Yeah. Well, over the period of the project, I'm sure our other participants will think about that as well. We'll hope perhaps get a few more, a bit more information out of the interviews. So in this example, we were pretending we were a medical student and a nursing student. So we kind of did every other question as an interview during the interview, reflecting on our kind of experience. What do you think went well as interviewers? I
think as interviewers, we did at the start mapped out which questions I was going to ask and which questions you were going to ask. But as Maddie answered some of our earlier questions, she was actually answering some of the other questions. So we had to modify our question asking because she'd already answered some of those. So we could still tease out a little bit more information, but we had to be flexible, and I think we did that quite well. By looking at that, thinking, no, we've pretty much covered that, we'll move on to the next question. And we did that without awkward pauses and things like that. So I think that was done quite well. Yeah,
and that's kind of a challenge in one of those things, is you've got to really listen to the interviewee to find out what they are answering and that kind of stuff at the same time, because they do tend to overlap in these kind of interviews.
And I think we weren't afraid to say it was your turn now.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the other thing I thought we did well is one person just didn't ask all the questions regardless, and so even if it was my question, if there was a point of interest in there that you picked up on, you were trying to get Maddie to elaborate on that, which was really useful, and vice versa. So when you were asking one of the questions and I wanted to know more information, we could do that, but without taking over.
Yeah.
So there wasn't one dominant person.
And I think what's probably useful is, at the end, is what I tend to do is just go, oh, that's great, you know thanks very much, we're done. And what tends to happen is you can pull a bit more information out of interviewees at that last stage, because they kind of think, oh, we finished, oh, I can chat a bit more freely, as it were. So I think that's probably one of the tactics I'd advise at the end of an interview, to draw a bit more out. Because it's always a bit tense to start with, isn't it? It's a kind of formal setting.
There's one other thing that I was thinking as well. I think when we're asking Maddie questions, I was feeling, I wanted to make it, and I don't know that we did this that well, that we are not judging you for your behaviour or how you've managed your asthma.
Yeah, really good
point.
point.
I think we might need to make that clearer, that this is not a test to see how well you manage your asthma or don't manage your asthma, or we're not here to tell you how to manage your asthma. We just want to know about your experience. So there's no judgment from us. And at sometimes I thought, is she giving us everything? Because if she's thinking, I know I should have done that different, but I didn't. So I guess that's something we maybe need to reiterate at the start of the interview. This is not, we're not teaching you about managing your asthma. We're not judging you how you manage your asthma, but we want to learn your experience of that. How did you feel about that?
No, I think that's a really good point. I think we said at the start, there's no right or wrong answer, but that would kind of be the place that you'd add a bit more in about, you know, we're definitely not judging, we just want to know about your experience. Yeah, and I
think that's the key, your experiences, not whether you were right or wrong, but and some from that they've learnt how that would manage their asthma anyway. But I think that really needs to be emphasised, and maybe that's a question I could have asked Maddie at the end. Did she feel that we were judging her for managing her asthma? Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I think that's kind of the experiences that we've had for that demonstration, isn't it?
Yeah.
And often with these interviews, it's really practice, and the more you practice, the more you become relaxed, and the more you can elicit from the participant. So. And
each participant will be different.
They will. They will. And you'd have to react in a different way to them as well.
Yeah.
So over to you guys. So we really hope you enjoyed this example video, and we'll see you in the near future and help you do your interviews. Thanks very much for watching.
Thank you.